Hi, lovely. My kids went back to school yesterday after the Easter holidays. So mornings and getting back into some sort of morning rhythm and morning routine, that's very, I guess, front of mind for me right now. And this is something that will likely be familiar for you if you have kids. It's familiar for me and many of my clients. That's that sort of morning chaos that will often happen. And even when it's not chaos, mornings we can get a bit cranky, it can get a bit fraught. There just tends to be that window in the morning where the pressure of needing to get out the door in time for school drop off or getting kids to a bus, getting yourself to work, all of that can just lead to a bit of in the mornings. And for us, it's things like, realizing there's a manky lunchbox that's been left in the school bag the day before. And we're in Brisbane in Australia and it gets hot. So our kids' lunch bags have ice bricks in them and they need to have gone in the freezer. So then there'd be somebody realizing that they need to take their PE kit and going to find that, finding the bag to put it in, everybody needing to be somewhere by a certain time. Just it can get a lot. It can get overwhelming. Voices can get raised, tempers can get frayed. And, if your mornings look like mine or any of my clients, as I say, this will be familiar. This is hard for most parents. For ADHD parents, whether that's you're the parent of an ADHD kid, whether you're an ADHD yourself, or like me, if you've got both, it can just be that little bit more because there's a number of transitions in this. You're transitioning from sleep to awake, knowing then you've got that transition of being transitioning into leaving the house, traveling, then transitioning into the actual day of work and or school. Um, and you're sort of ramping up to the day. There's that hard deadline for leaving the house. And this is multiple things that are difficult for us ADHDers. Um, Time blindness, will get caught up in if you look at the news in the morning or social media, start scrolling, you might decide to do a bit of a tidy up, or a kid might realize, oh, I've got a little bit of reading to do and start doing that, or just get caught up in things, and that time blindness can kick in. Also, transitions are difficult with ADHD. We're just not great at transitions. So the bit after school and after the workday to home can be tricky as well. And also just that task initiation, the getting started in something. And in the morning, you have to get started on breakfast. You have to get started on getting dressed, showering, washing your face, cleaning your teeth, packing your bag, whatever it might be. There are lots of tasks to initiate. Um, so, you might be trying to keep yourself steady, ready for the day ahead at the same time as keeping your kid or kids on track. And if you're the partner of an ADHDer, my apologies, you may also have to keep the ADHD adult in your life on track as well. Um, which is actually another strategy in a way. The person who's got the most capacity in the morning should lead the morning. But I'll talk about that in a separate video. The overall point here is, it's a very familiar picture in households all around the world as people try and get into the day. Little bit worse for ADHDers, a little bit worse for those amongst us who get a bit anxious because we want everything to go well. So, my usual thing that I say, this is neurological, it's not a fault or a failure. The next thing to do is look at what are some simple things that can help it. And I want to talk about two very, hopefully, simple things that can help. And neither of these are just make a list. Have you thought about making a list? Or you need to be more organized because these things are not helpful. Being told this is very not helpful. Yes, thank you. I've made a list. What I want to talk about is how what happens in the morning is often set up to either go well or not by what's happened the evening before. Um, and that is, we basically have a couple of short windows the evening before that help set us up for the day. One of these is as soon as my kids get home from school, there's a couple of minutes spent on, okay, empty your lunch bag and your lunchbox, get rid of any rubbish from it, put that ice brick in the freezer so we have it for the next day, get your school devices out and plug them in so that you can do homework later and that they're charged for the next day. Stinky socks go in the laundry so they're not lying around for the puppy to grab. Things like that. Just that while you're still on the move, take the 5 minutes before you settle down after school to do these things. Then later in the evening after dinner, another few minute reset of, okay, what do you need for tomorrow? Anything in particular, like the PE kit, like the library books, double check that there's any homework due that you've forgotten about, that type of thing. Same for grown-ups. You know, if my husband's going into the office, he doesn't do that every day anymore, but he might want to iron himself a shirt. Those sorts of things. The other thing is that you're the person who has to remain kind of calm in the morning. You're the nervous system who's regulating other people's. So getting yourself regulated as well. And this is also a day before type thing or prepare before because it doesn't happen in the moment. Um, I often talk about the idea of learning to do an emergency stop. You learn to do an emergency stop when you're driving. You don't learn it in the moment when there's a truck in front of you and you're coming up on it too fast or whatever happens. You learn it, you practice it. And it's the same with skills and tools to practice, to help us, reduce that that we get. And if those are things that you don't have a lot of, I'll record another video on that and link it here. Um, Basically, these are things like that pause, that taking the moment to do some rounds of breathing or some stretching. When you get up in the morning, before you start all the things, just take that minute, like a literal minute, as little as 90 seconds of movement, for example, which could be stretching, is enough to reset your nervous system. So do that in the morning before everything kicks off. Have practiced it before so that you can grab it again if things do amp up. And the pre-work, the having these skills in your toolkit and having practiced and learned them, that's what makes this moment in the morning and this re-grabbing the moment as the day ramps up, that's what makes that possible. So the practical things I want to leave you with are three things really. One is that after school shift, as soon as we get home, but before everybody's like, ugh, collapsing after the day, unpack the lunchbox, unpack the school bag, plug in the school devices, those sorts of things. Um, I said there would be no list. I do have a small list here for my kids, but I use like pretty much emojis. It is, the pair of stinky socks to put in the laundry. It is grabbing yourself a healthy snack is another one we do straight after school, that type of thing. In another 5 minutes or so later on, the after dinner, okay, what do we need for tomorrow? Grabbing things like the library books, the PE kit. We don't personally pack lunches the night before, but I know for a lot of people that's helpful, even if it's chopping up carrot sticks, do those few things the night before. And then in the morning, when you get up, before you start with everything else and all the things, taking that minute or two for yourself, step outside, get some fresh air, a bit of morning sun in your face is really helpful. Take your tea or coffee out with you, listen to the birds, do some stretches, any of those things, short moment of stillness before the day comes along. And following on from that, it's the one thing at a time, one step at a time, one instruction at a time for kids, one thing at a time for yourself. Lowering your voice rather than raising it, we tend to amp up, which amps everybody up. When we are able to speak more softly and slowly and go more slowly, it actually ends up making everything move faster because everybody feels okay. We haven't got that panic mode. And after all of this, right, there will still be chaotic mornings. This is how it happens. We're a lot better at getting out of the house these days than we were 6, 7 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, even. Um, and some of that is me working on my in the morning. Some of that is my partner doing more of it because he's a little calmer. The days when I am doing the full morning thing and we get in the car and we're in good time, I am there going, yay, team, we've done a brilliant job. The days where I've got a bit snappy, I will acknowledge that. On the drive to school, I will repair there and then say, yep, sorry about that. Whew, these mornings still catch me sometimes, that sort of thing. I think a big part of it in closing is to remember that our intent in the morning is not so much to be on time, because we get very caught up in the time thing. Our intent in the morning is to set everybody, kids and ourselves and our partners and whoever's in our lives, set everybody up for a good day. And that tends to start with a more regulated nervous system, more important than, we have to be out of the house at precisely 7:55. If it's 7:57, we've all still got our nerves intact and most of what we need for the day, that's generally more helpful. If this is something that you'd like more help with, I'm dropping in the next video some tools for that, how to bring yourself back, how to ground yourself in the moment, those tools for a quick moment of regulation. And this is sort of stuff I tend to talk about all the time. Anything anxiety, ADHD based. If you want to come along and see me, I'm based in Brisbane, and of course, I do sessions online. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.